We're going to be looking at the magic of one of my favorite magicians today, Mr. Larry Jennings.
LJ.
The big LJ.
LJ.
Jennings Areno.
And a mentor, his mentor.
A bro, a friend, a teacher. You know, his senpai-kohai relationship was in cahoots. That was actually went later after we left California. We would spend a time in cahoots. So before we get going, if you can do us a favor, hit the like button and subscribe to this video so you will be notified every time we go live with a new video and journey back to the land of cahoots.
Woohoo!
Gents, Steve, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a wonderful summer day here in St. Louis.
Are you a big fan of LJ's work?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not as big a fan as you guys are, and it's not just because it's not like I've dismissed it. I just haven't had as much exposure to every single little thing.
Oh, well, you're going to love today then.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
It was an impossible thing to do to be that familiar with all of LJ's work. You know, his big book was just a collection of what he was working on that day. and it was written by a man that literally could not write an email. I mean, this is before email. If you look at the classic magic of Larry Jennings, it is literally, it's like, you ever meet like an attorney that chooses like the Joker Man font for briefs and you go, huh, odd choice. If you look at like the classic magic of Larry Jennings is literally written in a font which you can't read or understand. There's no sentences in it. I mean, you know, noun, meet, verb. So it's really something. So the point is, it's tough stuff. But I will say this as we get into it. There was a long period of time there at the Magic Castle when if you'd asked Vernon who his favorite sleight-of-hand artist was, he would have told you Larry Jennings.
Oh, yeah?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Alex, did you study much into LJ?
Well, yeah, that horrible book came from the town that I live in, and I knew the guy who wrote it, and he
wasn't he your boss?
Caught a lot of flack for that book.
Wasn't he your boss?
He was my boss at one point. Totally, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
before the internet.
So I got to get that book deciphered by the guy who wrote the book, you know. So I sort of understood the intention behind a lot of that stuff, but only because he was there to translate.
Do you feel like he understood the intention behind those books? We're talking about Mike Maxwell, rest in
I think he did. I think he understood where he was headed. I just don't think that he was as skilled as he could have been at that part of the job, you know.
Okay.
All right. So I want you to forgive everybody. I want you to forgive. We have traditional magic production values in some of these recordings, but we're so blessed to even have these little recordings totally curated for us by Alex Slemmer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to, no spoiler alerts, right? Do not read anything at the top of the screen on this YouTube clip. It might tell you what's going to happen in the trick.
All right. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Hide it?
Yeah, hit it. All right, here we go.
Two people select a card. So would you select a card, please?
Oh, my buddy.
And you, sir, you select a card.
That voice.
So two cards are selected.
That's right.
In this case, the three of clubs and the jack of clubs. Would you return your card, please? Thank you. And you, sir, would you return your card? The two cards are placed back in the pack. You say, believe it or not, sir, I'm going to cause your card to vanish from the deck and appear over here in my coat pocket. Now, most magicians never tell you what they're going to do before they do it. That's their stock and trade. So in order to make it work, I've got to be pretty sneaky, don't I? Watch, all I have to do is slap the pack. Believe it or not, there are already 51 cards now, because your card has left the deck, now resides in my pocket. Look, over here in the pocket, we have the jack of clubs. Now, you, sir, I'd like to try something different with your card. I'm going to cover the deck and squeeze very tightly.
That's a bold trick.
And if we squeeze hard enough,
He's a bold man.
the deck disappears and just leaves your card, the three of clubs.
Oh, I love those tally-hos. Love the tally-hos.
You notice
I think that's a great trick too. It's very direct because I bet it plays. You know,
Oh,
pay attention to that level. It's a killer.
big man, big hands, gentle touch.
Really surprisingly gentle. Look at watching him hold that right hand position after he went to his pocket.
Yeah.
It really, that's where you got it from. Now that I think about it, that's where you got that. Like in all your half passes and everything, that is straight like the Larry Jennings touch, isn't it?
You know, there's a lot of things that are the LJ touch. When I saw it, I thought, wow, that's familiar. But then when I look at it, I have to realize that that's like my family tree. Larry was the equivalent of like an uncle that I spent a few summers with growing up. And, you know, it seeped in. Some of this stuff seeped in.
We're going to watch.
Hopefully some did not, you know.
We're going to watch some amazing videos of Larry today. But I think you all should know that, you know, Aaron has a real personal connection with Larry Jennings. And there was a story, there's this really famous story. I don't know if you've ever told it publicly before or not, but could you tell us about what happened when Larry passed?
Can we save that story?
You want to save it?
I was told that we should save it.
Okay, we can save it.
We're going to reveal a story about one of Larry's relics, but hopefully before that, we're going to see a lot of beautiful magic. So you'll see why a relic from Larry Jennings has such a meaning to people of our generation.
I think you're right. You're right. Okay, let's watch the next.
And older people like Steve.
Frame. Oh, ouch.
What's wrong with that? We respect our elders here at Country.
Oh, ouch.
People are always accusing me of cheating and putting cards up my sleeve.
Oh, come on.
So I really am going to cheat and put this ace of spades up my sleeve to start with. Now, would you point to any card in the pack?
Well, I like that 4 of diamonds.
An excellent choice. Are you right or left-handed?
Right hand.
Hold out your right hand for me.
Right.
Excellent. We'll place a deck in your hand, and I'm going to take the ace of spades. Oh, by the way, maybe we better hold that in this hand, because you need the ace of, that hand for the ace of spades. We're going to place the ace of spades in the palm of your hand. Now, I simply cast a shadow over the ace of spades. Believe it or not, it changes to the 4 of diamonds. Guess what happens to the ace of spades?
I'm going to guess it went up your sleeve.
No, it goes up your sleeve.
Oh, no. Unbelievable.
What about that? What a
Killer, right?
Larry was a big fan of the gambler's cop, you know. Larry had big hands, but you could really get to see in that situation a masterful usage of the gambler's cop. And of course, he copped it off of 1 card. So he's just holding a double, and he just went light as a feather, stiff as a board. Don't you just love his voice? It's really hard to not love his voice. When I was like 21 years old, when I was meeting Larry, I was literally chain smoking Camel unfiltered cigarettes with Michael Skinner, trying to get my voice to that rich, husky, deep amber, you know. Hey now. So eventually I began to decide that probably I shouldn't continue.
That last trick was really, really good.
It's one of Alex's favorites, I think.
Definitely.
Larry's, right? We've talked about that before.
Yes. It's the reason to do a gambler's cop for that trick.
You know, I was thinking about that cop too, and Steve uses that gambler's cop a lot in his show. We've talked about this before. You love that cop a lot too. How did it look to you?
I mean, it went by first, and then I realized what happened. You know what I mean? It's like you know, I had to backtrack that one. It's just great.
It's unexpected, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a sign of how great Larry was with the tension and release aspect of misdirection, that the camera was on him when he was doing it. But in that moment, when he's under fire, essentially copying one card off of a double card, the tension released in such a way that the misdirection still worked, even though the camera was on his hands, which of course is not, you know, you can really see Larry's understanding of tension and relaxation in misdirection.
It's interesting because I've seen coin workers do that same sort of a deal. I've seen people load cards under watches, and coin workers hide their coins by using someone else's sleeve. But it was a really bold move, but you're totally right, because it worked. It was that tension and that release, and that the way he
there was an exhale, you know?
Yeah.
Now it's that gentle touch too, right?
Most definitely, but absolutely. I mean, it's so unexpected. You know, when Larry doesn't seem like he's got a gentle touch. He seems like he's got a brusque touch. And after you watch it closely a while, you realize that those hands are, what's the old line from The Hustler? Look at that fat man dance. Now, this next item is a classic of Larry's. This is not so difficult, this one, but Adam was working on a variation of this trick just last week. This is the Visitor.
Harry, I'm going to show you a trick with the 2 red queens and 2 black queens. Would you select a card for me, please?
Sure.
Now, is it red or black?
It's black.
All right. What they say, opposites attract and likes repel. So what I'm going to do is put your black card, let everyone see it, face down between the two black ladies, okay?
Okay.
Now remember, your card between the two black queens, which we place over here in about the center of this packet. The idea is this: I'm going to try to cause your card to appear between these two red queens. Now all we do is say, go. Believe it or not, the Jack of Clubs, that is your card, correct?
There it is.
Jumps over here between
See?
the two red queens.
Great.
Now the hard part, of course, is to get it to go back.
See, you were talking about this last week?
We say go. Believe it or not, the black card has vanished from between the two red queens, or whatever it was. Now over here between the two black queens, we find one single card, the black Jack.
Wow.
Wow.
Visitor.
Wow.
Strong
Just-
trick. Yeah, exactly, right? That girl's like,
Wow.
so neat.
Just when you thought, right, you'd seen every sandwich trick that there was, along comes the visitor. Along comes the visitor.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I hear there's a really famous story, Aaron, about something that happened with Larry whenever he passed away.
I'm not going to tell that story.
Oh, you don't want to tell? Okay.
Certainly not now.
Okay.
Not, you're gonna build it all up and everything. There's a lot of different ways of doing the gambler's cop. I know Steve taught one a couple months ago. I would say that doing it the way that Larry's doing it is the most. It's one of the more refined ways that you would ever go about doing.
Just to be specific about what it actually is, it's instead of palming a card, it's a way of copying. A cop is a type of palm that is a cop. It's not really a palm, it's a cop.
And one thing I can tell you in this short period of time is that Larry had the upper corner of that double card there, right? So it's not something I use, but that's where you would be, right?
Mhm.
So, and I'm not entirely sure where along this whole traverse it would be, but I know that that would be enough to do it, right? And that you would definitely want to be like, have that angle.
Enough said. That's what the cop is. Thanks for asking.
And when you're talking about the cop to change one card, because you're talking about the cop as a palm change, that's not how you learn how to do a cop. That's after you've been doing a cop for a long, long time, because you're basically doing a double lift, removing the deck, and instead of depositing the card on the deck like you would with a double lift, you're just copying it instantly while you take the card and put it in their hand. So it's really a palm change using a cop, right?
Jeff Digella's comment.
I'll teach you that.
Jeff says he watched Larry perform after a lecture in Vegas in '79, and he drank an entire case of Pabst Blue Ribbon long necks and never left to go use the men's room all night. That's incredible.
That was a man that was probably wearing his Dukes.
He's wearing his Dukes.
Lots of
Oh,
practice.
my gosh.
Put them away.
Yep, he can put them away. All right, what's next? What are we going to watch next? Ah, I see.
We should ask for anyone who wants to know. We should try and do our best for the people. I'm sure you're going to find the cop stuff explained by Mike Maxwell with all the caveats that we already mentioned in the Classic Magic Larry Jennings. Where do you find the visitor? I know you can find a version in the Collected Almanac. I'm sure there's a version in Classic Magic Larry Jennings. Alex, any other spots?
I would say that video, you can see him actually talk about the methodology in it, right? I mean, despite there being just that lady who's just not a great spectator. I mean, that's not her fault. She's just not. They just picked the wrong lady for the video. But all of the tricks are explained, and he gets into super detail. And that's, I think if you have that video where Larry's actually explaining the stuff along with the book, it makes more sense. You can see that the book is sort of like a poorly written set of lecture notes. You know what I mean? It's enough of a roadmap that if you see the tricks performed and Larry talking about them along with the book, there are some details that are there that you're going to get, even though there's poor writing. But that's the way I would learn the thing, is straight out of that video, because it's the man. It's the man talking about his own work, and he's getting into the detail. And the other guy that I would look into, if you are interested in any of that cop work, another man who really gets into detail, and it's pretty much the same methodology that Larry's using is JC Wagner. He uses it extensively, and he's using it standing up behind a bar. So he's, his angles allow for that gambler's cop to be, a strong tool in his toolbox. And it's definitely worth checking out. And
there's a lot of pictures in that book of like JC and Larry hanging out in Southern California. So you know that those guys were working on the cop in the same way and the same time. And that's probably their common ancestor.
Exactly right.
Yeah. This is going to be an outstanding trick.
Here we go.
I was down at the Magic Castle the other night. I'm sitting at the bar, and this fellow walks up to me and he says, "Say, aren't you Larry Jennings?" I said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I am." He said, "Could I buy you a beer?" I said, "God bless you, sir." And he did. He bought me a Heineken. So I thought, well, I'll do a trick for him. So I said, "Would you like to see me do a trick?" He said, "I'd love to see you do a trick, Mr. Jennings." I said, "Well, select a card for me." He reached in and removed, in this case, the 2 of clubs. I said, "Fine, we'll return your card to the center of the pack. Now watch very closely. I'm going to square the deck up very neatly. Your card is absolutely lost in the center." He said, "Wait a minute, let me shuffle." I said, "Well, I normally don't let people handle my cards. I get them all sticky." He said, "Well, I don't think it's a very good trick unless I can shuffle." So I handed him my pack. Now what he did was this. He took about half the cards and he turned about half the deck face up. He then shuffled those face-up cards into the other half of the deck, which he left face down. In other words, about half the deck was face down, about half the deck was face up. And he mixes them together like that. What a mess. We had some cards face up. We had some cards face down. We had some cards face to face. We had some cards back to back. I mean, it was a total mess. He says, "Now let's see you find my card in that."
Oh.
I said, "Well, you're a pretty tough customer, but watch very closely. If I just smack the pack like that, believe it or not, sir, every single card in that deck writes itself except your card, the 2 of clubs." He bought me another Heineken's.
Couple things about this trick. For starters, in Larry's tricks, Larry is a much gentler guy with people who are mean to him than I pick. Larry's a sweet guy, but I just can't imagine someone running up to Larry, taking his cards and shuffling them this way and that, and having Larry, say, "Why, thank you, sir. You've created a mess with my cards." I feel like that's performance Larry. I feel like, who would do that to that man?
Hey, Aaron.
What
did Larry was Larry just a professional magician, or did he also have an occupation?
Larry was in Larry, I believe, had a trade. Larry was a plumber, I believe. Now, another interesting thing about Larry, which is really on display in this particular trick, and this is, the thing. Larry was known to be the kind of guy that would kind of on principle not do 1 sleight when 2 would suffice, right? If there was a situation where you could throw an extra bit of shenanigans in there, Larry was pretty famous for adding a crazy hard move or two to tricks where they weren't necessarily, the most justified, right?
Keeps it exclusive.
Yeah, and it was just something that Larry did, and so there were such cool ideas, and he didn't want to leave them out, because he could do them. But that particular triumph is a great example, because that display is just incredibly powerfully deceptive and really easy to do. And we've taught it here in a couple situations. But you notice Larry added that kind of secret half pass of the top half of the deck under the top card just because he could, and it's a great move, but when was it going to be necessary? Because what he's doing is while he's getting ready to shuffle the cards, he's literally half passing that card while it's in that situation, right? Which is, there's just no way around it. That's harder than it needs to be, right? but so the key to loving Larry Jennings magic is noticing when that's happening and recognizing those beautiful ideas for what they are and using them not necessarily the exact construction that he's got them in, because there's, often the right time is elsewhere.
Right.
Classic. This is a big classic coming.
It's a very short clip too.
Well, it doesn't take long to get your face punched in.
Divide the deck into 2 packets here. and 2 packets over here. Now there's nothing in my hands, right?
Right.
I'm going to cover the packets like this. And the 4 aces appear.
It's like an optical illusion the way that thing works. It's so cool. I love it.
Yeah, that trick is not an example of that other thing. That trick is, you know, that's like Larry at his sweetest right there, right?
Yeah.
That was a nice. That was a gentle man right there. You know, I hear. There's you have a story about Larry. It's a really good story that
You're a gentleman as well.
about one of his relics.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When you're getting ready to watch the Ambidextrous Travellers, you don't want to have to go telling stories about. I'll tell the story.
You should tell. There's another story that you told that was very interesting about him doing magic in someone's home.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good story. So, you know, Larry was working in someone's home and, you know, having a plumbing issue.
Plumbing.
And after it was over, Larry decided to had a rapport with the fellow and decided to show the fellow some magic. And he did a bunch of magic for the fellow. And of course, Larry at that time is the card man, Vernon's favorite sleight-of-hand guy at the castle, Vernon's buddy, just one of the worldwide experts in his field in the universe. And when he had finished showing the man things like you've just seen, the Ambidextrous Travellers, so on and so forth, the man said, well, now that you're a grown-up, I guess you know it's time to put away childish things. So to Larry's credit, he did share that story.
Did he?
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't make it up.
Right.
There was only Larry and the guy were there. All right, here's a classic. This is a Larry classic.
Hey, before we do this, let's look at Richie's question. Is there a reason why everyone does the Triumph with the face-up card?
Everybody doesn't do Triumph with the face-up card.
Mm-hmm.
You just happen to have seen a bunch of them.
Yeah, I've seen it both ways for sure.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It depends on whether you want the denouement of turning the card over. And of course, plenty of people do Triumph without a selection. Plenty of people do Triumph with 4 selections or 4 aces or no cards at all.
And some versions do let the spectator turn over their card. So,
And some methods dictate that you have to do it the other way because you're hiding something else.
I mean, next to the ambitious card, I'd say Triumph's probably your second most famous plot. You know,
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, Triumph has been put into service as a supporting trick for so many tricks. So many color changing decks start with a Triumph. So many, just about anything you can think of has had Triumph grafted into it. And most of the Triumphs you've seen are probably examples of that. Lots of times in those situations, you're either have to hide a whole bunch of cards because the thing that's being grafted into Triumph is being grafted there because it can hide all those cards, because it can hide half the deck easily or more. And that's, I think, what you have to look for. So for my money, when Triumph is not being jammed in for an extra laugh on the way to some other kicker meta trick, it pays to put your Triumph together in a situation where the people get to turn the card over or there's no selection at all. But, you know, I think lots of times it has to do with what other shenanigans the act you're watching is attempting to bring off with the Triumph as a pretext.
all right, let's check out the next one.
You signed these 4 aces.
Yes.
Once upon a time, when I was up in Tahoe, a pit boss walked up and asked me to do a trick. I had him sign the aces. I returned to the 4 separate positions in the pack.
Okay.
I squared the deck up and gave it a couple of cuts.
Sweet mitts.
And the aces were naturally lost in the deck. I said, I believe I've developed something that you haven't seen before. All I have to do is hit the deck like that. And believe it or not, each and every ace now resides in 4 separate pockets about my person. He says, I can't believe it. I said, look, over here in this pocket, we have 1 ace. The ace of spades. The next ace normally travels to my right coat pocket. Yep, there it is. Still warm from its travels. The next ace usually travels to my left coat pocket. Aha. The ace of clubs. And last but not least, the final ace has to wind up in this left breast pocket. It's the only pocket we haven't used. Is that correct?
That's correct.
He says to me, well, I wasn't ready for that. He says, if you tried it again, I'd catch every move you made. I said, well, all right, let's see if I can do it again. See, all I have to do is hit the deck like that. Did you see them go? He said, no. I said, over here in this pocket, we have one ace, the ace of diamonds. In this pocket, we have the ace of spades. In this pocket, the ace of hearts. And last but not least, over here, the ace of clubs.
Wow, dude. That was a smoker right there.
The Ambidextrous Travellers that started it all. Right?
Nathan says beast mode. You're right, Nathan.
Yeah, I think
you are
so.
right.
So just to let everybody know, Vernon had a trick in Stars of Magic called the Travelers, which is 4 signed aces each go to a different pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the points of it was to be misdirection centric mastery, because there's 4 different palms to go to 4 different pockets, right? And covering every move. Larry, in his classic Ambidextrous Travellers, worked out how to do what he just did. So the 4 aces go like the Travelers, and then there's nothing to see for the rest. Steve, you ever seen that one before?
Never seen it before.
First time with the Ambo Travelers. I never showed you my handling Travelers live at Budokan.
No.
Hey, Aaron, tell us that story, that really famous story that you've never told before about the relic that you almost got.
I got him.
Oh, you got him. Okay.
I got him.
Tell us the story. I think it's
I want to see this next thing. Maybe before we go, I don't know. You're making me feel really uncomfortable about it. You're supposed to be my friend.
Hey, Richie, to be fair to that girl, I think the camera just wasn't on her face. Her eyes got real wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for a lot of spectators, when they get invited to a Magic DVD or VHS shooting, I think it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. But it's like that first day when you spend on the set of a movie shooting. It's going to be so much fun. But actually, it's pretty hot in there. It's a long day. She is not from Central Casting.
And I
Right.
think this is early in the A1 catalog of Magic videos, and Larry was one of Mike got the book deal, right? So I think he was buddies with them, and Mike was starting a video instruction business, and I don't think he was as skilled in the beginning at picking spectators, because after that, I think he learned an important lesson from that Larry Jennings video. After that, he had more than one spectator. He would have a handful, because he could rotate people in and make sure that he's getting at least some sort of reaction, so that magicians that are buying that material and learning that magic, they can get some sort of sense of what they're getting into, the reactions that they might get, so that they can, get a feel for the trick and actually learn how to do the thing. I think that's part of it as much as learning the moves,
Yeah,
But, what are you going to do?
Alex used to work for a company called A1 Resume Writing Service in Sacramento, California. He was a young guy. How old were you, Alex?
Oh, I found them when I was like 18 or something, when I first got really heavy into magic. Yeah.
So when Mike Maxwell got interested in magic, and the A1 Resume Writing Service, it's a different time.
Yeah.
One day up and changed itself to the A1 Multimedia.
And it wasn't even a change. It was like a little thing, a closet that they had in the back of this resume writing service. They had a closet in the back where they had the magic stuff that they would sell to, like, the 4 guys in town that knew about it.
But
And
it
plus their
really,
mail order customers.
really shows you what it takes to go into the magic production business.
Yeah.
I mean, when he told me that A1 Resume Writing Service was the other media that made it multimedia when they did their first magic videos, I thought, Well, that makes sense. It looks like they've never done anything like this before.
Right. Yeah, they hired local production firm to do, you know, basically run the cameras for them and do a lot of the heavy assisting of editing with these things, because they, you know, how do you edit a magic video? You know, I think he went into this thing blind, and the reality is that, you know, Lou Falanga just recently passed, and he had that business, and that was really Mike helped him set that up and pretty much showed Lou everything he learned from making these videos. He went up on a shoot, and I think it was Easy to Master Card Miracles. Halfway through the day, you know, Lou and Michael were like, I think we got it. You can go home, Mike. We got it. We can do this video thing. And, you know, that was it. That was the start of the L&L magic business. It was Mike Maxwell coming up and showing everything he learned from those first half dozen or so videos that he shot in Sacramento, right?
It wasn't really everything they needed to know, but it was everything that was possible that Mike Maxwell had learned.
That's exactly right.
It was a short morning.
That's right.
Ah, the glory days. Okay, what are we going to do now? Estimated toss. That's got a good old-fashioned, boring card guy name. Estimated toss. Something's going to be thrown, and we know that we're going to practice throwing it without actually needing to hit it very much. You know, it's stuff like methods like, in this trick, you know, you're going to need to cut to the card. And how are you going to do it? What's the well, you're just going to cut to it. But don't worry, I've got it worked out that if you know, cut anywhere near it, you're going to be able to pretend you cut to it.
You guys ever play around with estimation?
That's how that
Most of you probably don't, but some very good effects can be had with estimation. Let me demonstrate.
Classic pattern.
Let's suppose we have a card selected now, so you don't think I'm forcing a card on you. I'll deal cards face down on the table like this.
Love it.
Until you say stop. All right, Earl.
Stop.
You want this card or this card?
Earl
I'll
the
take the
Pearl.
one in your hand, Larry.
The one in the hand, all right? Will you remember this card? Now, if I return that card to approximately the center, do you agree that that's about the center of that packet, Earl?
Yes.
Ish.
Yeah.
Looks pretty near the center, right?
Definitely.
That's right.
But if I add these other cards to the top of the pack, that lowers your card in the deck. Is no longer in the center, is probably down about right there now, correct?
That's right.
That's estimating.
Right.
That's called estimation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to toss this card in next to your card in the deck using estimation.
Ah, see what he did there?
Let's see.
Boom. Estimated.
Got to hit the deck to make this work.
Uh-huh.
That looks perfect. In
Make
fact,
him
it
believe
looks
it.
so good that I'm willing to bet your card's on top of the lower packet. What was your card, sir?
Well, the 3 of diamonds.
The 3 of diamonds on top of the lower packet.
Now that was very sneaky. What he did was he wooed in the magic guys by saying, "You ever work on estimation?" And then in those days, magicians would go, "No." And then he's like, "Well, since they're thinking about estimation, I'm just gonna do like a diagonal right-hand steal and put it on top under this beautiful cover, and then pretend it's estimation. But then I don't really care because that's it. I got it. It's magic. You're stupid. You're so stupid." You know, basic magic psychology from the old days. Steve just laughed like an old-time magician.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you just squirted like water in a kid's face when he tried to like open up like a gum wrapper in the store. You know, and Steve would just went, that was the exact laugh.
I mean, you gave me a couple of good laughs today, I got to say.
Yeah, you know, looks aren't everything.
Speaking of which, you know, I know Larry was your mentor and everything, but I've heard that you have a story maybe.
All right, I'm going to tell you guys the story. Do you guys want to hear the story? I just don't know why you guys seized upon the story.
Put a 1 in the chat if you want to hear the story.
All right, you know, what they want so
All this
much
build-up.
to stop hearing the shtick about the story. So here's the story. After Larry passed, we used to go in and look in on BJ, Larry's widow. And on one occasion, she had been telling me that she really wanted me to come by because she had something of Larry's, and she thought it would mean a lot to me. And on one occasion, Lee Asher and I were in Las Vegas, and we were visiting Betty Jane. And she said, "Wait right here. I've been saving these for you." And and these were Larry's. And I know that you're going to love them too. And he would have wanted you to have these. And so she went and she rummaged around in the back and she brought out a box this big. And inside it were Larry's size 80 Fruit of the Loom tighty whities. And she was so happy to know, because I was a portly man, like Larry. She said, "Aaron, you're a portly guy. You're stocky." Now, do you know how much I would have had to weigh to have Larry's waist size when he had like 2 feet on me? Like I wasn't husky. I wasn't overweight. I was just 7 feet too short for my size,
You thought you were going to get his wand or maybe a set of his nice cups.
You got the cups. All right.
I didn't have any expectations on that trip.
Or maybe a signed autograph poster, but you guys...
Ask all the
Yeah, but there had to be a little bit of something in your belly. Like a little bit of butterflies, like, ooh, BJ has something for me instead of me.
And I swear, my only disappointment is Aaron did not take a pair of those and frame them. That's the only disappointment. For the magic room, I mean, that's...
I wore them as best I could. Then I do a bad breakup and they fit for a while. They were great because you could make a servant with them in your pants.
I can't believe she was like, come over here. I've got something of Larry's I want to give you. You showed up at her house. And she's like, do you want some of these size 90 underwear?
They were like this big.
The elastic mostly still works.
Like I was stocky. I was husky, but both of my legs and my hips fit through one leg.
That is such a good story.
And she didn't know I'd gone over to Boxer Briefs. It was all very sweet. You guys are making it sweet sour. You're making it savory, and it was sweet.
It is a really sweet gesture. She was really
know what? They were clean.
But it's still really funny.
Bleached.
They had a lot of good wear left in them.
I was big.
Good wear.
I was big. I was probably a size 44, so they were probably only double my size. For a very tall man.
They were literally... Okay.
They were clown underwear. Size-wise,
Well, it was sweet of her to offer those to you.
It was very sweet.
Did you like begrudgingly take them?
No, I was totally... of course I begrudgingly took them. I tried to express to her that perhaps they were too big, but she said it was important to Larry. And, it was important to me, too.
After I'm gone, help this kid out.
Help this kid out.
You know what? That's why people don't love y'all. Wait till you see the thing that I've left you in my will. And to Adam, who always wanted to be remembered in my will.
Larry Jennings underwear.
Yeah, and just for that bullshit, one of you guys is not getting a set.
All right, let's talk about.
I had enough for 3
You have the provenance to prove that it's Larry Jennings?
That's exactly right. No, fortunately, I had
Certificate of authenticity.
Lee Asher's been making up certificates of authenticity for years. This is the first time.
You've been selling them 1 inch square at a time.
Right.
Be
12
close
per
to
year.
the master.
Could we clone him?
Total Franklin Mint move.
You know what?
Out of underwear years ago where you just been selling squares of
Larry Jennings underwear.
This Vernon plate is virtually assured to go up in value. How old were you guys before you knew that the Franklin Mint was not the U.S. Mint?
You mean
I think I was probably like 12 before I realized the truth of that scam.
All of those things were fascinating when you were young because why are these people Mother?
Giving away gold.
They're going to give us free money. They want to send us a New Testament.
If we're one of the next 50 callers, we get that bonus.
They're going to give us this book. What is it? And it was Mormons, but I wanted to send away for the free book. And they were like, a New Testament. And I was like, who doesn't want a New Testament? Send me the New Testament.
Commercials were so great back then.
And the Franklin Mint was the best because they'd be like, you know, each plate. I mean, we should go back and check those out. Each plate with gold borders, each president, a likeness of each president you can stare at day after day, suitable for framing. The resale has been known to go up.
William Taft's underwear.
This limited pressing of these replica Larry Jennings underwear, complete with a relief statue of disappointed Aaron, plus relics of several items Aaron had thought he would receive that day. Such as Malini's underwear, Nate Leipzig's jerkin,
That's some sort of fried beef. Or
a doublet from, you know, Cagliostro. Was that
You
fried
lost me.
jerkin? It's just various other old style clothing.
Oh, I see. Oh boy, gadzooks.
Jerkin, doublet, mithril.
Pip liked your word choice.
Thank you.
Copperfield has Leipzig underwear.
That's now how
That's
you know
why you
Jeff is
didn't get
making it up. Leipzig was known for going commando.
It's true.
That's right.
He was sold a fake.
Copperfield's got a fake.
When they talk about the Leipzig thumb, many people don't know what they're really discussing. Can we watch the 4-card trick?
I would love to.
Now that you guys know I don't have my Larry Jennings underwear on, it takes several inches in the waistband just to hold them. They're like Dr. Scholl's for your pants.
I was a very young man, let's say about 24, 25.
That underwear.
I came into this very castle, and I met a gentleman called Harry Blackstone, Sr., and he did a beautiful trick for me. He got me up at the table, and he said, "Young man, would you be kind enough to deal 4 cards into my hand? Would you play the part of me for me? Deal 1, 2, 3, 4 cards into my hand," which I did. You can set it down. Then he counted the cards again. He said, "Look, son, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. I'm going to throw 1 card away. But I still have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards." I was amazed. I literally was, because I knew he had 4 cards. I counted them in his hand himself. Well, then he went on and did some incredible trick, which I really don't remember, but I do remember that. So after his show was over, I went back here where the performers go, and I said, "Mr. Blackstone, could you show me that trick with 4 cards?" He said, "Which trick with 4 cards?" "Oh," I said, "the one where I counted 1, 2, 3, 4 cards in your hand. You threw 1 away, and I still had 1, 2, 3, 4 cards left." Thank you. He said, "Well, you know, son, that trick is being used by professionals around town. It would be unethical for me to teach it to you, but if you go down to Joe Berg's magic store, he'll sell it to you." So I went down to see Joe down on Hollywood Boulevard. He had a 2nd floor walk-up. And I said, "Joe, can you show me that trick with 4 cards?" He said, "Which trick with 4 cards?" He says, "The one where the magician counts 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. He throws 1 card away. And then he still has 1, 2, 3, 4 cards left." Joe said, "Hey, that's a good trick." He said, "I know 4 or 5 professional magicians that are using it, but it's expensive." Well, I said, "I don't care. How much is it?" He said, "Well, it's going to cost you $300. I said, "I don't care. Give me 3 of them, because I really want to learn that trick." So I bought them. I went home and I practiced. Finally, I decided to show it to my cat. My cat's name is Spot. I said, "Come here, Spot. Look, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. I'll throw 1 card away, and I still have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards left." Well, Spot sat down and licked her feet, which in cat sign language means that's a great trick. And I decided I'll show it to my dog. My dog's name's Stay. I said, "Come, Stay." Look, Stay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. I'm going to count, I'll take 1 card and I'll throw it away. And I still have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards left. Well, Stay liked it so much that I decided to show it to my wife. The acid test. So I said, hey, Warden, come here a minute. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. Now, if I throw 1 card away, how many do I have left? She said 4. I said, aha, I got you this time, honey. There's only 1. She says, no, I didn't mean 4 cards. She says, that's a 4. You know, she was right. I never did learn that trick.
That punchline, that punchline was like a super letdown. Did you hear? Everybody was like, great trick. And he's like, well, yeah, but it really was just 4. And they were like, oh. Did you hear that?
He was having, listen, I have had a rough night or two. You're doing 21 shows. You probably drank a bit. You got dialysis. You're having all kinds of stuff is going on, right? You have to, when you live the whole week at the castle and you don't stop eating
Red meat.
What is it called? The Wellington, the beef Wellington?
Yeah.
When you don't lay off the beef Wellington, there's some of those nights where you got the meat sweats in the room and you're just trying to get through the 20 minutes so you can do the other 3 sets. Am I right? Raise your hand if you know what I'm saying.
I've been there. Yeah.
Totally true.
Right? Because you know that if you're a castle performer and you're not eating the protein that they're giving you, you're missing out on the preponderance of the sustenance that is there for you to have as a Magic Castle entertainer.
And part of your
Now on
payment.
some of your actual compensation.
Like if you get home and you lose bone density, your family's going to be even more out of sorts than they were when you took the gig in the first place. So I'm saying it can be a tough ride, a tough racket. And Larry, you know, at this point in Larry's life, he's doing those shows. He's sharing some new tricks. He's not working the castle all the time. He was just trying to get through and make it happen.
You turned to me during that video and you said he's ham dogging his way through that routine, right?
Takes one to know one, y'all. Takes one to know one. Reminded me of doing the old Downton Abbey, the card trick the other day.
Right.
And so Larry was like, did I do this phase? How are we going to end this thing? Oh, look, 4 spot. Fair enough. That's what they call a denouement, brother.
Right. Yeah. It was an interesting choice. But
I would like to date this. I would like to carbon date this.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
This is vintage LJ. This is LJ at the opposite end of the spectrum. This may be the youngest moving picture I've ever seen of LJ. I've seen a picture of him black and white younger, right? But pre-beard, it's a little bit like the Beatles, right? This is LJ right around the Magical Mystery Tour stage.
I think this is LJ living in Tahoe, LJ.
Those were the good old days. Much of his patter comes from the Tahoe nights.
This is a good one too. Let's check it out.
Plus a trick that you put in a magazine that everybody's usually interested in. It uses a very expensive bag here. I searched all over the world for this material. This is virgin corduroy, very difficult to come by. It also uses some familiar props, a little ball from the dime store, and I know we all know what this is. A genuine imitation silk handkerchief, and a solid sterling copper cup. Now the first part of the trick is simply a guessing game. We drop the little ball in the cup like this. We shake it up and down. Then we place the ball in the pocket. Now the guessing game is this. You have to guess, did I cheat and leave the ball under the cup, or did I actually put it in my pocket? Does everyone understand? Fine, let's begin. We take the little ball. Oh, was that too difficult for you? I tell you what, let's try something else. Let's cover the shot glass with the silk. Oh, this part of the trick is called expansion of texture. There was a fellow by the name of Robert Houdin, lived about 200 years ago, and his trick was that he would cause the texture of a silk handkerchief to part and allow an object to pass through. Well, I'm going to do the same thing for you here, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, right in front of your eyes. We cover the shot glass with the silk handkerchief. I place a little red ball on top of the handkerchief. The handkerchief will open up, allow the red ball to drop into the shot glass, and then it will heal itself up, and I'll pass it out for examination afterwards. Now, of course, if I let you see it happen, you'll steal my trick, so I'll cover it up just for the second. Go, and believe it or not, the little ball falls right down into the what in the world here? My goodness, he got stage fright. This is his first trick tonight too, and went home. I'll tell you what, here's an even more difficult trick. I'm going to cover the shot glass with the cup. I'll cover the cup with the silk. We place a little ball in the pocket. The object's to get the little ball to jump from the pocket, underneath the silk, underneath the cup, and into the shot glass. Now, a lot of people accuse me of using a trick cup. As you can see, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the cup, and absolutely, as I promised, nothing wrong with the silk. Would you like to see that again? A lot of people accuse me of using two balls. Well, you know, they're absolutely right. What about that? You know, this is not the one that bothers me, it's this one. Yeah. Oh, God, those things don't even want to fit. You want to try that yourself?
That's the famous cup routine, famous load, eh?
Cup routine, yeah, it's the famous load. That's the load that Tommy Wonder uses, right? It's that same load.
It's that Don Allen thing where he would bang it on the edge of the table.
That's the second load. That's the Don Allen load. But the first ball is that's the one that Tommy Wonder uses in
behind the handkerchief.
Balls. Yeah. He's using Tommy's using a little bit different cover, but same idea. It's coming from that same place, right? It's coming from on the table. I remember learning that routine because someone gave me a photocopy of, I think it's like a 1963 Genie, where he actually published that for the first time. And, you know, it was before being able to get back issues and like having an online access to all the old issues and all that. But I had this, you know, beat up Xerox copy of the routine. That was my book of the routine. That's how I learned it. And eventually I think it was in one of those Busby books, but yeah, that's a great chop cup routine. I'm a huge fan.
That was the routine that Larry made his reputation with out in Cali, right?
I think that's one of them. Yeah, I think that is the chop cup routine. That's the one.
That's the one. Caused a little chagrin. I can't believe we got to do this today. I could watch LJ do magic all year long.